Hey, I'm Tini, and the goal of this show is to bring you practical strategies and tips to enrich your life experience and inspire you. And I'm here with LaDarius Jamison, who is an author and life coach, and he helps people develop stronger mindsets to tackle anything that may come their way and just to be able to learn how to appreciate what's around us everywhere and bring love, joy, and inspiration in everyone who is open to receive. So, hey
Absolutely.
there.
How's it going?
Good. uh, just one thing I forgot to ask you just before we started recording is you have a pen name, an author name. Would you
hmm
mind telling me what that is? And
Yeah, absolutely. So the name, my poetry name is Zoe dot J. A friend created that for me. I just thought it was a dope name, so I just went along with it. It sounded great. I know poets, some of my favorite poets don't go by their original name, and so once I started writing, I was like, I gotta have a dope name to go with it. So, yeah, they created that name for me, and it's been going about 5, 6 years now. So I've kept it.
cool. Because I'm also, I mean, if you ask people to pronounce my name, it's gonna go in a million ways. So I get that. But you also have a cool name like LaDarius Jamison. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just fun to
I,
pronounce.
I got you. I've heard that people have told me that's an author name as well. So I guess I get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, cool. So I know you wanted to talk a bit about mental health and
hmm
your book and how the book helped you go through that. I
hmm
just read a little bit about your story, but I would love to hear from you. What inspired you to write the book?
All right. So what originally inspired it? Not knowing this, but I went through depression since 10th grade. Not even knowing that it was depression. Not even knowing that I had mental health issues. But what inspired me is I know I went through a lot with depression and also having suicidal thoughts. I didn't want anyone to feel how I felt. And so the book was inspired to let someone else know that they're not alone in the process. And the book mostly has like relationship issues, life issues, abandonment issues, all that is inside of the book. And so, like I said before, I didn't want anyone to feel like they were alone in the world because I know once you go through these emotions and things like that, you do feel alone. Like you feel like nobody hears you, you feel like no one understands you. And so I just had that thought, like, man, like I didn't know really who to talk to about any of this type of stuff. And so that's what made me write in the beginning, is because I didn't feel like I was heard. So it's like me writing was like me listening to myself. And so I know what comes with all of these type of emotions and thoughts. And so okay, let me write this for someone else as well. Cause I found out like once I was writing, I knew I wasn't writing for myself anymore because the book started off as just a diary. I was just writing to myself. And then later on, I saw the importance in each poem that I was writing. I was like, okay, this is no longer for me. This is for other people as well. And so that's why it was so important. That's why I worked so hard to put this book out because I knew it was going to be not only for me, but for other people as well.
I think it. How long did you work on the book? Like
How long?
yeah, when did you decide to turn it into a book?
Ooh, I've been working on this book for about 5 years now. 5 years. And it's hard to write some of these emotions down. Like it takes a minute. And sometimes you don't, sometimes you have to give things time, to come to life. Like there's certain poems in the book that I didn't know how to write yet, but I knew I wanted to write about a particular topic. But it took time for me to go through life and finally like, oh, okay, I understand this poem. Now I can finally write it. So it took about 5 years. And once I realized that it was a book, it took like a year for me to realize like, okay, this is gonna be a book. And I had like a numerous amount of titles and things like that as well before I finally came up with the Addled Soul. And so yeah, that's how long it took. It took a while.
Yeah, and how did you pick the name for the book?
How do I pick it? At first I was gonna go with Midnight Thoughts. And I feel like that was a pretty cool title, but also it was like, okay, I had to think like, okay, what is this book about? Like in the book, it was like he seems, well, me as in me, I seem confused in the book. So I was like, what's a fancy word for confused? Like a better word for confused. And I know a lot of them popped up, but adult was the thing that spotted out the most to me. I was like, okay, the adult soul. That sounds like that's it. So that's what I went with.
Yeah, full disclosure, I had no idea what that meant, and I Googled it, like the dictionary. And funny thing, when you said midnight thoughts, well, I thought that for this episode, I would pick my favorite poem, and it's Midnight Thoughts.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
it
insane.
is. It's pretty cool. Yeah. So one thing that I'd like to ask you is how do you see people going through your book? Because it was a healing journey for you,
Hmm.
and you want to help others,
Hmm.
at least not necessarily heal themselves through the poems, but at least to encourage them to express their feelings and
Right.
to, yeah. So how would someone go through your book? Like, how would you like them to experience the book?
I would like them to experience it as, it's definitely an emotional roller coaster. It's a lot of emotions in this book. I would like to view it as, of course, I want it to be inspirational. Like I also wanted it to be relatable. A lot of those things are in there, hopefully, are relatable to a lot of people because the circle of people that I had, it was very relatable to them. And even people that I reached out to that I became friends with, it was also, a lot of them was also relatable to them as well. And so I want them to view it as something that's like, okay, you know, I went through these emotions as well. He spoke out about them. And obviously, you can see in the poem that they were very hurtful. They were very hurtful feelings. So it's like, okay, let me go into this as, let me talk about my emotions as well. You don't have to write. I'm not trying to encourage anyone to write. Writing is very therapeutic. I would, convince anyone to do that, but you don't have to. I'm not saying, write a book about your feelings. That's not what I'm saying at all. But in the book, I want them to see it as, okay, let me talk to someone about this because I'm going through this as well. Let me in therapy, it can be therapy. You can do therapy or just talk to a friend. Just I just don't want these emotions to be buried inside of you because they can get worse. And so if it's not acknowledged, if it's ignored, it gets stronger. And so in order for you to, get rid of this feeling, you have to face it head on. And that's my biggest thing is just facing these feelings head on. That's what I encourage anyone to do while reading this book. But just know, while reading is definitely gonna be an emotional journey. Like it's just like this. It's just like this. So, yeah, I hope everyone likes it though.
Yeah, and I'll post a link to the book in the description of the video. Um, is it okay if I share my favorite lines from Midnight
Ab-
Thoughts?
Absolutely, go ahead, right ahead.
It's right the end of the poem, but
Hmm.
these lines just spoke to me, and it
Okay.
says, okay, so you'll have to read the poem to understand the thing.
Right,
For
right,
the
right,
viewers,
right.
you
Hmm.
already know it, but it's, and if I'm wrong, I don't want to be right.
Mm.
And oh my God, shivers. Um, just because sometimes, yeah, we choose to see the good in people, to see the good in everything. And that's something that I also live my life by. And because one of my coaches always says that things serve us in one way and limit us in another way.
Hmm.
So, yeah, there's this duality going on. And
Hmm.
yeah, I could also be wrong, but I choose to be right. And they
Right.
both coexist in our mind at the same time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that particular line, me and my wife was talking about this before I released it. She was talking about that exact line as well. It's funny that this is all reverses all coming to pass and things like that. She was talking about that same exact line. If I'm wrong, I don't want to be right. And people, I think, with that particular line, is like I could, like you said, I could be wrong. You know, I could be. And if I'm, I just it feels good. It's like I'm so deeply into this. It feels so good. So if it's wrong for me, whatever. It is what it is. Like it feels too good to let go. So that's what that's where that line came from. I'm glad you like that line though.
Yeah, and it's nice when there's so many connections going on, because
Hmm.
before this conversation we only exchanged a few comments, and I was excited to hear about your book. That's why I asked you how long it took you to write, because I was like, oh my god, when is your book coming out?
I
And yeah.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. I'm glad you like them.
Yeah, I do, and I'm going to continue to read them because I only got through a few, but they also inspire me. And I always believe that we can learn from anything from anyone,
Hmm.
anywhere, as
Right.
long as we are open to do that. And I'm open to do
Right.
that because everything inspires me and there's infinite potential. So I wanted to ask you,
Mhm.
one of the things of this episode and the conversations that I have is to provide people with practical tips and strategies, something that they can apply to their life to, I don't know, make their experience richer. So,
Hmm.
what would you recommend to someone either going through mental health or who just wants to see the good in everything?
Um, I know what got me through my process was reading a lot of books. It's this particular book that I recommend anyone read called The Fourth Agreement. The author is Don Miguel. That book helped me out a lot. Ask for it and it's given. That's another book. Reading, just doing your research on mental health and how you can get through these things is very helpful. But the main thing that you have to do is acknowledge that you're not okay. A lot of people don't acknowledge that they're not okay. They just brush it on the rug, and it's like, oh, it's nothing. I'm all right. I'm just going through life. Well, no, it definitely is something because, like I said, if you just don't acknowledge it and don't face it head on, it's gonna get worse. And so I just think anyone for the first step is acknowledging. You have to acknowledge it. Once you acknowledge it, you can be, like I said, you begin to do your research and just look at these particular books. And also, talking. Talking definitely helps. And if you don't feel like you can talk, write them down. Always, you can always write it down. And if it's just a little diary for yourself, it's just a little diary for yourself, but you have to get it out. You can't suppress these things. You have to get all these emotions out some way or another. So if talking to someone is good, you have that person you trust, even if they don't understand, it's cool if they just listen. They don't have to give feedback to it. Just listen. All you need is an ear because you don't feel like you're being heard. And writing it down. Those are my two main things. And also do things that you love. I would do something that you love, whether it's a sport that you play, a TV show that you like to watch, anything like that, any activity, anything that you like to do, just do what you love and go from there.
Yeah, and I like the second tip that you provided because yeah, it's not always necessary for the other person to say something back, but it's just being heard and also hearing ourselves talk about our emotions, and that
Mm-hmm.
also helps.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely helps.
Yeah. So I'm gonna post a disclaimer in the description to check in with a professional with a specialist if you're going through mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just to inspire you and to show you that anything is possible. And
Anything.
yeah, in all the cool ways. So what are you up to right now?
What am I up to? What am I up to right now? Just reaching out definitely to a lot of people. Doing a lot of right now, doing a lot of promotion for the book. Also working on three other projects that I have going right now. It's never a dull day for me right now. It's very exciting because this is my first book. But I have a lot in store. This is definitely not my last one. I'm working on three different books right now. They're all poetry books. I fell in love with poetry, so I feel like that's my niche and purpose as well. But right now, just staying humble. I'm appreciating the process. Not doing too much writing because, like I said, I'm just enjoying. I'm right now. I'm just enjoying the first book and getting people's reactions of the first one. And so, yeah, that's it right now. But also continuing. to work on the other three that I have going on right now as well.
Yeah, and I'm appreciating the fly that just came by. Yeah, so cool to hear that you're not stopping there with the book. So, if people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
My Instagram is zove.jofficial. My Facebook is LaDarius Jamison, and then you'll see, of course, the cover of the book as my profile picture. That's what it is right now, so you'll know that's me. You can definitely connect with me on those two social media websites, and yeah, we can go from there. That's the
Yeah,
best way to reach me right now.
cool. And is there anything else, like parting words, that you'd like to share with whoever is watching or listening?
Yeah. Um, Protect your energy and protect your dream. That's the two biggest quotes that I have right now. Those are the things that I live by. I always do that. Protect your energy and your dream, because people can talk you out of your dream and talk you out of your purpose. So make sure you keep everything that you want to accomplish, keep it to yourself. Um, Live by it, work on it, work on your craft, and just go from there. But you're definitely protected.
I love this. Absolutely. I'm gonna remember it always.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. And this was a really cool talk. And I'm so humbled and grateful to have had this opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I'm humbled to have this opportunity as well. Thank you so much.
And for everyone watching, stay inspired and have fun. Bye.
Absolutely.